Hi guys, welcome back to our next episode. My name is Nikki and I am the Managing Director of Ingenious Personnel, which is a recruitment agency, or you can call it a staffing agency. On today's topic, I'm going to share with you 10 tips on how to answer the most common interview questions. If you are currently interviewing at the moment, this is where you need to be, because on this channel, we talk about recruitment, we talk about interviews, we talk about business. So if that's something that you like and enjoy, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the channel so that you are notified every time when we do post our next video. Now let's get to the tips. Tip number one. So tip number one is the most commonly asked question that you're gonna find, and you're guaranteed to get this question in an interview, because a lot of recruiters, a lot of hiring managers are going to ask you this question. This question sometimes is used as an icebreaker in an interview, and that is, tell me about yourself. I have done a detailed video about this question, which I will leave a link somewhere above here somewhere, that you can go and revisit and just familiarize yourself with this question. What this question means is, this question has got nothing to do with your personal experiences. The interviewer is not asking you about your hobbies, is not asking you about what you enjoy to do. It's got nothing to do with that. This question is directed to your skills. This question is directed to what you are bringing onto the table. So when you answer this question, you want to make reference of your past experiences. You want to take them through your past work experiences and what you have done in the past in terms of your work history. You also want to take bits and pieces of the job descriptions that best describes who you are, and you want to incorporate everything, and you want to best answer this question like that. So it's got nothing to do with what you do over the weekend. It's got nothing to do what your favorite meal is. This question is directed to your work history. Now let's move on to tip number two. Tip number two is, why should we hire you? Why should we hire you question, how you can answer this question, you could make a reference of the type of qualifications that you possess. So you want to tell them you possess the certain qualifications, but it has to be qualifications that are outstanding, qualifications that are related to the job description. That is one. Or what you also want to do on this question is to highlight any achievements that you could have, received in the past, whether that be at a previous work company, whether that be at your current work company, if you are somebody that is in a position right now, or if you have received any achievements from a community or from a church, from your church, you want to then make highlight of any achievements that you possess, that makes you stand out from other candidates. What you also want to do, or how you can also answer this question, is you want to highlight if you have any industry experience and you come with the industry experience, you can then make a reference of industry experience, that they do not need to train you because you already clued up on who the competitors are in the market. Or if you do not come with industry experience, you could say that you don't have the industry experience, you are a fresh blood, you come on a clean slate. Therefore, any information that you will learn from this company will be completely new and fresh. So that is how you can answer this question. Now let's move on to question number three. Tip number three, or let me say question number three, that you could possibly get in an interview is, why are you interested in working for our company? So when you get this question, the interviewer is trying to test you if you have done your homework. If you have been following my videos, I emphasize on doing research prior to any type of interviews. because this is the type of questions that you might possibly get in an interview. And if you did not do your research about this company, what are you going to say in this question? Why do you want to work for this company? So number one, like I said, the interviewer is trying to see if you have done your homework. So now this is the time for you to make reference on what the company stands for, on their values, on their company culture, because this should be something that you have done research on. So you make mention of their values, of their culture. You will make mention of the job description. You would tell them that you possess the right, skills that they are looking for. You come with the right skills and you've done that job in the past. So that is what you want to make a reference on this question, on why do you want to work for our company. That was tip number 3. Now let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4. So tip number 4 is, what is your greatest strength? Tell us, what is your greatest strength? If they start asking you about your strengths in an interview, they are definitely going to ask you about your weakness. So how do you handle that question? This is your time to brag a little bit about yourself. So you want to tell them what you feel you are fantastic in and you're good at. But you also do not want to forget to incorporate every single answer that you say in an interview with the job description. So here you're going to tell them what you think you are good at, but you also want to align your answer with the job description. So that is tip number 4. Now let's move on to tip number 5. Tip number 5. So tip number 5, like I said earlier, if they start asking you about your strengths, they are definitely going to ask you about your weakness. So tip number 5, or question number 5, is, what are your weaknesses? Tell us about your weakness. We all have weaknesses. So when you do answer this question, make sure that it's an actual weakness that you have, but it is something that you are working on. So you also do not want to mention a weakness that is required for this role, because if you have a weakness that is required for this role in order for you to perform on this role, then perhaps you shouldn't be applying for the position. So your weakness should be something that is an actual weakness, but it is also be something that you are working towards. So it's something that you can work on. Okay, so that is tip number 5. Now let's move on to tip number 6. Tip number 6. So tip number 6 is the lovely scenario-based questions where they want you to tell a story. You must always have stories in your pocket if you're going for an interview, because scenario-based questions are when the interviewer is wanting you to tell a story. So tip number 6, or question number 6, is, tell us about a time where you had to deal with a difficult client. What did you do? Or they could ask you and say, tell us about the time when you had a deadline to meet and you had a lot of tasks, you had a lot of things to do. What did you do? So this is scenario-based questions. This is where you tell a story. Remember, when you tell a story or when you answer scenario-based questions, there's 4 things that you need to remember. There's the situation, which is the intro. Then there's the task, which is the body of what has happened. And then there is your actions. What did you do? And then there's a result. So that is how you answer scenario-based question. You must always remember, when you answer scenario-based questions, there's 4 steps to it. There's the situation, which is the intro. There's the task, which is the body of what happened. Then there's the action of what you did. What actions did you do? And then you want to talk about the results. So that's how you answer scenario-based questions. Make sure whenever you go for an interview, You have stories in your pocket. You're taking them with an interview. Prepare these stories in advance. Prepare them up front so that when you get a scenario-based question, you will have a story to tell. So that was tip number 6. Let's now move on to tip number 7. Tip number 7. So tip number 7 is reasons for leaving. Reasons for leaving. Employers, recruiters will ask you, why did you leave company A, B, and C for this company? Why do you want to leave where you're at right now? So because people need to know what is your reason for leaving. So if you maybe left your previous employer because you had a horrible boss, or because you were just unhappy with the culture of the business, sometimes you don't have to be that honest in an interview, because like I always say on my videos, you never ever want to put anybody under the bus. So on reasons for leaving, you can mention that you left because you are looking for a new challenge. You are looking for a new growth opportunity in terms of your experience, or in terms of a specific skill. Or you could say that you are looking at leaving because you have sort of reached the ceiling where you're at, and there's no more room, growth opportunities in terms of your skill. So you are looking to advance yourself in a new company where you can grow more as an individual, as well as grow more in terms of your technical abilities. Remember, reason for leaving is not there to put anybody under the bus. You do not want to tell your new employer that you're leaving that horrible boss at the back. So you always want to make it about career advancement, career growth, learning more, more in terms of your technical skills, as well as personal growth. So let's move on now to tip number 8. The brain teasers question. Now, if you get a brain teaser question in an interview, unfortunately, these questions you cannot research, you cannot prepare for. This is the type of questions that when an interviewer asks you this question, they're trying to see if you can think outside the box, if you can think on your feet. So brain teaser questions are questions like, sell me this pen. Or they could say, if you were an animal, what type of animal would you be? Sometimes they could even say, how would you weigh a plane, without a scale? So those are brain teaser questions that you might be asked in an interview. And these type of questions is questions that you would need to think out of the box. So these questions, they determine whether you can think out of the box. When you do answer these questions, try and put yourself in that situation and what you would do in a situation like that, because the interviewer here is trying to see if you can think out of the box. Tip number 9, or question number 9. So question number 9 is, what is your greatest accomplishments? What have you accomplished in life? What have you accomplished on your previous on your previous with your previous employer? What did you accomplish? So here you want to highlight your achievements. You want to highlight your strength. You want to highlight what is it that you are good at. This is how you answer this question. You could also say something. If you were part of a team, maybe you implemented a system, or you were part of a team that implemented a system, or maybe you were part of a team that helped save the business money. So those are all achievements. Those are your greatest accomplishments, because you have accomplished something within an organization. Or if you have any personal accomplishments, you could also make mention of these in an interview. So that was tip number 9. Let's move on to the very last tip, which is tip number 10. Tip number 10, or question number 10. So question number 10, you will always be asked this, and I did a video about this about 2 weeks ago. And at the end of the interviewer will ask you, do you have any questions for us? Your answer must always be yes. Do you have a question? And then I'm going to leave you a link here, and you can go back on that video that I posted, and you can see what type of interview questions you can ask in an interview. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video. If you have not subscribed on this channel, please do so. What are you waiting for? I'll see you next time.